We are barely a week into the Ontario election campaign, but the numbers are in. Polling has Doug Ford and the PC party in the lead and due to pick up more seats. For more, let's go to Eric Grenier, a polling expert and writer of the election newsletter, The Writ. Eric, thank you for being with us.
Happy to be here.
So what can you tell us about the trends you're seeing as you look at the different polls across the province?
Well, we're definitely seeing that Doug Ford's gamble to call an early election hasn't blown up in his face at all, because we're seeing that he still holds a pretty big lead in the polls. On average, the PCs have around 45% support, giving them a lead of about 19 points over the Liberals, who are in second place, and the New Democrats in third with about 19% support. And with those kinds of numbers across the province, Doug Ford would almost certainly win another majority government if the election were held today, and very possibly he would win more seats than he actually had a dissolution. So his request from voters to give him a bigger mandate to take on Donald Trump so far does seem like voters are willing to give him that.
Okay, so polls are showing that Doug Ford and the PCs are in the lead generally, but what does the polling say about how people are viewing the major party leaders?
I think what we're seeing is that Doug Ford's image, his personal image, has improved over the last few weeks compared to last year, when you usually had 2-to-1 disapproval for Doug Ford versus approval. Now you see roughly the same amount of people who have a good opinion of Doug Ford as a bad one. So that is a big change from what we've seen in the last few years. For Bonnie Crombie of the Liberals and Merritt Stiles of the NDP, there's still a lot of Ontarians who don't really know who they are, don't have much of an opinion about those two leaders. Both of them are about even in terms of approval versus disapproval. But I think the big challenge for them will be to get better known over the course of this campaign. And for their sake, they hope that the more people get to see them, the more that they'll like them.
Hanging over everything are these tariffs, these threatened tariffs. How much is the tariff conversation influencing the numbers so far for the PCs and the main opposition parties?
I think it's had a huge impact. It is, I think, been what has driven Doug Ford's own personal numbers upwards. The fact that he has been able to take up a lot of space, take up that role as Captain Canada with the hat that he wore at that event. So I think that it has helped the PCs. And it also helped drown out the other two leaders because they aren't in government. Doug Ford, he's the PC party leader. He's also technically still the premier, gets to still be the premier for a lot of these kinds of announcements that he's been making. So it's drowned out the other two leaders. As an issue, it doesn't poll as highly as cost of living or healthcare, but it is a pretty big one for a lot of voters. And I think it does tie into that cost of living issue, which is also top of mind for a lot of Ontarians.
Okay, and so now that the tariffs have been paused for 30 days, what are the other top issues on the minds of voters beyond the tariff issue that polling is showing may take up some space on the campaign trail?
I think the two that are the ones to watch would be that cost of living. That is by far the biggest issue. Roughly about half of Ontarians will say, or a majority of them will say, that it is one of their top issues of the campaign. And also healthcare. Healthcare usually polls about second in issues. It is an issue that is better for the New Democrats, for example, than talking about Doug Ford and the tariffs. So if the opposition leaders, the two leaders of the NDP and the Liberals, can get this campaign to be about other issues, about Doug Ford's last 7 years rather than Donald Trump's next 4 years, that will give them an opportunity to break through. But so far, Doug Ford and the PCs are dominating that conversation, and they're leading in the polls.
All right. Well, we will have to see, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Eric, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Eric Grenier is a polling analyst that writes for The Writ and has covered many election campaigns for the CBC. He will be with us every Tuesday throughout the campaign.